We are doing the first lesson in the new quarterly, Making Friends for God, the Joy of Sharing in His Mission. And I just received this email this week, and I thought, well, since we're going to be talking about witnessing, this is a great email. Let's share it and see if you can help us with it. It says, hello, I'm just learning about God's design laws versus imposed laws. I've been sharing these new ideas with my extended family of Adventists on the West Coast. Everyone seems to be experiencing a tremendous blessing of peace and renewed joy with this fuller understanding. I'm so grateful to have found your website. My question: I am a nurse consultant for the state of California's intellectually disabled population. I would say most of my 500 coworkers, social workers, have placed their trust in me from day one precisely because I'm a nurse, and I feel the weight of that responsibility and trust. Because I have a private office, there are several coworkers that I have built a warm personal relationship with over the past 3 years of employment. They regularly stop by and ask me questions about God, at least until we were sent home in March for shelter-in-place requirements. Most are from a Catholic background. I'm saddened to think that I did not have a more expanded picture of God to share with them until recently. Now, on extended lockdown at home and working full-time remotely, the questions from coworkers are coming again. I have been reading everything Dr. Jennings has written, thankful for the timing, more time to read while on lockdown. One thing I haven't quite been able to find the right words for is the inevitable question: why are you a Seventh-day Adventist? My old answer would have been along the lines of level 4 understanding. Now I want to be able and ready to share an answer in 30 seconds, one trip up the elevator, basically all the time I get, and in a longer, more detailed response over the phone or text. That is designed to get them to think in a positive way toward God and the Adventist church that I love. I'm having trouble articulating both in brevity. I don't want to overwhelm a coworker who is merely curious. Suggestions are welcomed. So how would you answer her question? And if you're not a Seventh-day Adventist, then substitute your own denomination in there. And just if you're Catholic, if you're Baptist, if you're Methodist, put in there, how would I answer the question if I was asked, why am I Methodist? Why am I Baptist? Same question. So whatever denomination you're with, and this is an Adventist lady, so what would you say? How would you answer her question in a 30-second ride up the elevator? Why are you an Adventist?
It's just where God led me to find out what I needed to know.
It's where God led me to find out what I needed to know. Any other thoughts? What would you say?
I love God.
I love God. Okay. And so they make, oh, that's great. I love Him too. I love Him too. And if you know them personally, you probably would agree they do. They're Christ-like. They love God and other people, but they're not a member of the church. Well, what difference does it make if they love God in an Adventist church versus a Methodist church versus a Baptist church versus a Catholic church? I mean, this is the question. We all love God. Why are you a member of the Adventist church? Why love God in that organization? That's the question.
For me, it's been the doctrines that I found within the Seventh-day Adventist Church align closest to the foundational doctrine that God is love.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Because the Adventist church gives me the most beautiful picture of God.
Oh, I love that too. So my answer, go ahead.
I have found that the teachings that they teach are biblically based, not just hearsay, and that it reveals more truth and more depth and explains so many of the questions that we have as to why didn't God kill Satan and why do we have sin, all that kind of, it answers a lot more of those profound questions through the scriptures.
Oh, I like that answer. In fact, that's very close to something I might say. I was going to say, well, first, I don't take the view that salvation is found by denominational affiliation.
Amen.
I don't take that view. So I'm not a member of the church because I believe I have to be in that organization to be saved, or anybody else has to be in that organization to be saved. So first off, denominational affiliation isn't about that's the only organization where you can be saved. But we are saved in a trust relationship with Jesus Christ. With that being said, though, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist because I've found the most comprehensive and accurate understanding of reality that integrates Scripture, science, and how life works, what we call life experiences, harmoniously together and provides substantive answers to the big questions of life. In other words, the integrated view that I have learned is the most consistent with how reality works and makes the most sense when compared to all of the religions and all of the denominations. That's a 30-second answer. You can do that up the elevator. And then you have to be, though, if you give that answer, you have to be ready because there will be an immediate follow-up question. And the immediate follow-up question, can you give me an example? Immediately, what do you mean? What do you mean more comprehensive, more integrated? And then I would be immediately ready to go into design law of love, how it works, how God is love, how he built things to operate, the principle of other-centeredness, how sin severs that design and results in death, law of liberty. And then I would go into the great controversy and the allegations and how lies, believe, break the circle of love and trust, and that and what the diagnosis is in our hearts and our characters of fear and selfishness. And then I would go into why the Bible focuses on the family tree that the Bible focuses on. Because as soon as man sinned, Genesis 3, there's a promised Messiah that's going to cure the condition. And the whole Bible now is a story about the conflict between the enemy forces who want us to die of this condition and God who's bringing a remedy through Christ. That's why the Bible story focuses where it does. See, when you put it like this, all of a sudden it has meaning, it has substance, it's reality-based. That's the kind of approach I would take. So, to the question of witness, and the lesson title is Why Witness? So, why witness? Why? To bring people to Jesus.
It's basically our purpose in life and purpose as a Christian, because God has lost his children and he wants them to be brought back to him.
So that's it. Ultimately for salvation of people. That's the real reason, ultimately, isn't it? Okay. Who benefits from witnessing?
Everyone.
Good answer. That's right. The people who witness benefit, and the people witnessed to benefit.
And God, he gets his children.
Are anybody harmed? Are there any people that are harmed by witnessing? Okay, any people harmed by witnessing the truth about God?
No.
So what happened to Pharaoh when Moses witnessed to Pharaoh about God? Did his heart get softened? What did Jesus say about the cities in his day having had his witness to them, comparing them to Sodom? They would have more guilt than Sodom. They would suffer worse than Sodom because of his witness. Were they harmed? Well, it's kind of a trick question. The witness didn't actually harm them, the witness of truth, the revelation of truth. What harmed them was that's right, the rejection of it. And when you reject truth, your heart becomes hardened. You become more resistant to it. So truth, when you're presented with truth, it's not a neutral decision you have. You embrace truth, you grow in truth, you're transformed by truth, and then you learn more truth. And this is why thy word is a lamp, and a light unto my path, and a lamp unto my feet, and so forth. Because how does that work? It sheds light enough for you to take a step or two. And as you take a step or two, it sheds light further down the path. But you can't see way down the path until you move down the path with truth. And if you don't move down the path, you stay stuck, and eventually your lamp goes out. And the light within you becomes darkness, as Christ said. So yes, some people, because of rejection of the witness, what happens if we witness because we want to get the most baptisms in the conference? That's why we witness. We go out, we're aggressive, we're witnessing. And the reason we're doing it is because we want to set the baptism record this quarter. Do we risk witnessing with the wrong motive and perhaps not even then witnessing the truth?
Amen.
Jesus told the religious leaders in his day that their witness caused their converts to what? Twice the son of hell. But they were witnessing and converting people to a false system. What is the primary goal of witnessing? The primary goal. Is it to get people to accept right doctrines? Only as necessary to bring healing to their hearts. If they're believing some lie that's hurting them, some lie that's obstructing their trust in God, then a true doctrine about God that removes the lie is necessary for their healing. So the true doctrines are only necessary to the degree that it's important for their healing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you could ask the same question about the doctrines metaphorically by asking a question about a sick person. Is there a goal for the sick person to get them to have the right understanding of their disease? Is that the goal? As long as they have the right understanding, then we're all good. No. That might be necessary to get them to have the understanding, so then they'll participate in the healing. But the goal isn't just the understanding of the disease. The goal really is their healing. And so the goal isn't to get people to accept the right doctrines, the right day of the week, the right baptism, the right doctrines. And many people do that. They even accept their diagnosis as a sinner. But they don't necessarily participate in the healing plan. Pharisees in Christ's day would be examples. I think we've all seen that in our community. Is the primary goal of witnessing to get them to join a particular denomination? Yes, no?
No.
Certainly, again, when people ask me why denomination, I've given them reason. And then my view of denominations are because we organize together for purpose, for common purpose. And I love the true message that the Adventist Church has about the integrated great controversy picture of God's character. That's the true message of the Adventist Church. But just like the Jews in Christ's day, that organization, the Jewish people, had a true message from God that was to prepare the world for the coming Messiah, the advent of the Messiah. They had a true message. And they were the true witnesses for God. But did that organization get infected with a false message? Such that the common view of Judaism in Christ's day were that they were exclusive bigots who didn't want to associate with other people and were legalistic rule keepers that would stone you for the least infraction. Was that the true picture of Judaism that they were to witness? No, it was a false picture. Within Adventism, I think the organized church has the true message, but there's wheat and tares growing up together. And so sadly, there's a vision or a perspective on Adventism that can be presented that's a false perspective. That's not really what Adventism stands for. And I think sadly, many people see that view of a legalistic rule keepers rather than people who have been blessed with a message of the truth of God's kingdom and character. Is the true goal for witnessing to introduce people to Jesus, so that they can open their hearts to him and experience regeneration, rebirth, renewal, salvation? Isn't that the true reason for witnessing?
Yes.
Will all of God's true friends, so you could actually say then that the reason, as the Good News version says in Corinthians, we witness to turn God's enemies into his friends. Okay, that's how the Good News version says that. Isn't that the reason? We want everybody to come into friendship with God. So, when people come to friendship, will all of God's true friends on earth today agree on every point of doctrine? Did Paul and Peter agree on every point? Did Paul and Barnabas agree over John Mark? No. Were they still God's true friends? How many people in your circle of Christian friends allow for that? It's your character. It's your heart. I understand you love God. I understand you're growing in truth. I understand that we all have finite minds. I understand we see things from different perspectives. I understand that as long as we have a heart that's hungering for truth, we might see things differently, but our principles of truth presented in love, leaving people free, don't change. We don't have to agree on every detail of what this text or that text means in order for us to be friends of God who love him and love his message, do we? Now, as we grow and come closer to the source of truth, eventually any misunderstandings will be eliminated and we will come to a common understanding, but that might not happen until heaven on every detail. All the apostles did agree on, though, that Jesus is Lord and salvation is found in heart renewal, circumcision of the heart, rebirth, renewal that comes from faith and trust as we open the heart and the Spirit takes what Christ achieves. It's no longer I that live, but Christ lives. All agreed on that.
Yes.
Heart renewal.
And that Jesus was a clear representation of the Father.
And Jesus was a representation. Exactly. You've seen Jesus, you've seen the Father. That's right. Should we witness to every person?
No.
Well, Jesus actually said to his disciples, if they don't want to hear it, shake the dust off your feet and leave. Didn't he tell them that? Don't cast your pearls before swine, lest they turn and rend you asunder. Some people are not open to truth will only attack and destroy you. And so their discernment comes in. If there's a mob out there, and I'm just going to make up kind of a scenario, maybe they've gone into a city and taken over several blocks and put up walls and scream and destroy things. I'm just kind of making something up. Don't take anything that I say as a real example of happening. But if there's a mob raging like that, do you think they're open to hear about love, grace, forgiveness, and the truth about Jesus Christ?
No.
That is not the time to witness. You have to wait. If you tried that, they would turn and rend you asunder.
Towards you.
Are there different ways to witness?
Yes.
And I'm going to list some of the ways. Preaching is a way to witness. Teaching. Ministering meaning health care, help after disaster, help in times of need, feeding, clothing, comforting, acts of compassion and service. This is a way to witness, isn't it? Books, blogs, articles, pamphlets, movies, lectures, videos, Bible study classes, preaching on the street corner. Probably not that effective in our society today. In Paul's day, that was a common thing. Most of Western society, that doesn't seem to get a lot of traction. You almost look like maybe you're off your medicine. Yes.
So I like the quote that I've heard before. It says, teach Jesus and sometimes use words.
Yes, I like that. Teach Jesus, sometimes use words. That's good. And so that's the way we live our lives so that others can see. Way of witness. On an elevator. Telling and answering a question. Can we think we are witnessing for God's kingdom, even believe we are, but actually be witnessing for Satan's kingdom?
Oh, yeah.
Can we?
Yes.
Can we proclaim the name of Jesus while promoting the principles of Satan?
Yes.
What if we were to pass laws requiring people to be baptized or else get punished? Would that be preaching the gospel or promoting the principles of Satan? What about laws to worship at all or in certain ways? What about laws that give preference to people who believe certain things about God? Sharia laws would be laws like that. You get preference if you believe certain things about God and behave in certain ways. What about laws that restrict people from sharing their beliefs about God? You can't talk about God in the workplace. It's a law. What about any merging of church and state? What about the Crusades using violence in the name of God's kingdom? Is that a godly thing? How about using violence in society today, rioting and destroying property to promote what you believe are social justice, equality of God's kingdom? What about using the power of the state to minister to people in need? Taxing people to create social programs to help those in need. Why is this not part of God's kingdom? Why? I'm going to go through why. I want you to understand why. And why Satan is tricking so many. Is it God's method to take by force from people who don't have in their heart to give?
No.
Jesus said regarding taxes, let's be clear, give to Caesar what is Caesar, and give to God what is God's. I'm not arguing against taxes. I'm not arguing against that at all. Jesus didn't argue against it. I'm not arguing against it. What I'm stating is that God's kingdom is separate from the state's.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying. You can't achieve God's goals by using the state. God doesn't work that way, because every time the state gets involved, the state will always use coercion, force. God doesn't work that way. Will forcing people to give what they don't want to give result in greater love in their hearts?
No.
Understand that. Understand that. Is the primary purpose of God's kingdom to give people, primary purpose to give people food for their bodies and clothes for food and clothes and housing, or eternal life? Think that through. Have God's people ever been martyred, abused by the powers of the state? Were they not God's people because God didn't intervene to stop their martyrdom? Now, certainly God was not rejoicing. God didn't want this to happen. But was his primary concern simply the moment of their comfort or their eternal life. Primary. I'm not arguing against helping people. I'm just pointing out that there's a bigger concern. So when you put that together then, when Christians in love see people in need, is there a godly principle that is supposed to go in action where we love our neighbor as ourselves, where we relieve suffering, where we feed the hungry, where we care for the widow and the orphan? Is there a godly principle that we go into action if we apply, that we do socially things that are right? Do we do that? And does that create an opportunity when you as a person go to a person and relieve their suffering and get to know them? Does that create an opportunity at some point for you to tell them about how Jesus relieved your suffering and guilt and shame?
Yes.
Does it? Will some inquire, why are you doing this? Why me? Because you're a child of God. And will the answer, because God so loved the world, he gave his only son for me, who didn't do anything to earn it, but he loved me. And if we love him, we love each other. And I'm here because you're a child of God. Will that have an impact on that person that is different than if they get a check by the state each month? What if we take the church and the Christian out and put in a state institution instead to help people? Is there a different outcome on people's hearts and minds?
On both sides of the equation.
On both sides. On both sides. Yes, this is what I'm pointing out. I'm not arguing against social responsibility in loving people. I'm trying to expose that you cannot achieve God's goals using the methods of the state. You can't replace the church, which are godly people caring for people, with state institutions and get godly outcomes. You can't do it. What happens in the process of charity, of helping those in need, when we remove the compassion, remove the kind person, remove the caring people, and insert a bureaucracy with a faceless check that goes into your account each month? What happens? Is there a different impact actually on the heart and mind? But what happens if the money, clothing, food, shelter is given in a relationship with somebody who actually cares about the person who's receiving it? If the person actually becomes part of the life and the family of the person who is invested in them, does it have a different outcome? Not necessarily always, but does it increase the likelihood of reaching their heart for the kingdom of God? What happens when an orphan is not put in a state-run institution or a foster care in which the foster parents get a monthly check, but is actually adopted by a family who loves them and sacrifices to raise them? Is there a difference? When Ruth and Naomi were without food, did God have a system to provide for their hunger? Did he?
Yes.
You remember what that system was? Gleaning in the fields. Who did the gleaning? Naomi and Ruth. They got free food. They were not charged. But they went out and collected it. Is there something different that happens when you participate and put your energy in to your own recovery?
There's a law about that.
The law of exertion. You can't get stronger unless you exercise. If you don't use it, you lose it. Think what happens to integrity, to willpower, to self-determination, to self-governance when we take away personal responsibility and just provide. Are we helping character develop? Or are we destroying and causing people to be helpless and they can't think and they don't know what to do and they can't problem solve, so they need somebody, some institution, some authority to come in and rescue them and give to them? You see, this is a corruption. It destroys people. All under the guise of, I love you. God's system was to connect people with people, social justice of individuals who have in their heart to love their neighbors, to show hospitality, to give opportunity, to rescue, to feed, to clothe. There is nothing in God's system of people paying taxes to great state agencies who become impersonal machines to take from those who, with no intent and no interest in the needy, and give to those without. This is a corruption that instills resentment in those taxed and no gratitude in those who receive. Instead, it instills a sense of entitlement and causes division in society, rather than bringing people into unity, into relationship. God is always working to heal hearts and minds, to restore the image of God in people. Satan always works to destroy hearts and minds, to cause division, to efface the image of God in people. Human systems always corrupt. It's the most insidious, and it's most insidious when those human systems are promoted and purported to be there to help you. See, in your cupboards at home, you may have various chemicals that have warning labels: poison, toxic. Those are dangerous. They're much more dangerous if you put the poison in something that says health food.
Yeah.
It's here to help you. Now, did I just say that the state should not have any social programs? Somebody's going to accuse me of saying, I never said that. What I said is the church can't achieve its mission by surrendering its responsibilities to the state. I pay my taxes and I want the state to do all this social stuff for me. You can't achieve the mission of God to transform hearts. Can you be an effective witness to something you don't personally know or understand? No. There are many witnesses out there that are parodying somebody else's experience. Wow. They're telling what somebody else has told them. They don't know it, they don't experience it, they don't understand it, but they know on some level it's true. They like the idea of it, they resonate with the perspective of it, and so they go out and tell people, but they're telling somebody else's experience. They're telling something they don't really know. And that's when questions come, they will get defensive, they'll get angry, they'll get irritable, they'll accuse the other person of being something. First paragraph in Sabbath's lesson, we're getting there right now. God's great longing is for people everywhere to respond to his love, accept his grace, be transformed by his Spirit, and be saved into his kingdom. He has no greater desire than our salvation. His love is boundless, his mercy is measureless, his compassion is endless, his forgiveness is inexhaustible, his power is infinite. Can you hear Mark Finley in that, guys? Mark Finley wrote this lesson. I can hear him. This is classic Mark Finley, where he just takes a point and just expounds on it. It's really cool. Okay. In contrast to the heathen gods, which demand sacrifices, our God has made the supreme sacrifice. No matter how much we desire to be saved, God longs to save us more. Can there be salvation without transformation? Or does God's plan of salvation actually mean? It actually means healing, recreation, regeneration, restoration, transformation. That's what salvation means. It means that. What would you think of this statement? If you are not being transformed in the image of God, you're not being saved. What would you think of that statement? True or false?
True.
Unfortunately.
From what are we being saved? From what are we being saved?
Sin and separation from God.
Sin, which is, I like to use the word sinfulness. Sinfulness kind of, to me, brings it home to a condition of being, where sin, some people hear as deeds or acts. Sinfulness was what we're being saved from, right? And in the Bible, when they use the word sin, it actually is the same word that's translated sinfulness. So it can mean sin as the condition of sin, rather than the act or the deed. So we're being saved from sinfulness, sin, you're exactly right. The condition of being out of harmony with God and his design for life. Thus, salvation means healing our hearts, our minds, our characters, being transformed to conform back into the image of God. Always means that. Selfishness and fear are replaced with love, trust, and the practicing of his methods. But the penal legal lie that's based on the lie that God's law works like human law. God just makes up rules, and he forces those upon you, and if you don't obey his rules, then justice requires him to use his power to punish you for those. That's the Roman system. That's a lie. God's the creator. His laws are design laws. But if you believe the penal lie, then theology based on those human law models, then we're being saved not from sin, but from the punishment for sin. And Jesus came to take our punishment, is what's taught. He was put on death row and executed for us. You've heard these metaphors? This is fraudulent. It's based on the wrong law model. And thus, the legal lie tells you that you are to be saved from the punishment and the legal condemnation, not from the condition of heart and mind. So it gives people false security. All my sins, past, present, and future, are put on Jesus, punished in Jesus. I accept his payment. And in heaven, I'm stamped pardoned, so I have salvation, but I'm not transformed. Nothing's happened in my heart, other than I feel more at peace when I look at porn tonight because it's already been punished in Jesus. What's the difference between sacrifices in paganism and the sacrifice of Jesus? It says here, in contrast to heathen gods which demanded sacrifices, our God made the supreme sacrifice. What's the difference? Classic penal lies will tell you, well, the difference is both of them required a blood sacrifice, a human die, and the blood payment be made. The pagans, though, required you to bring the offering and pay the God the price. God sent the offering and paid himself the price. You notice both systems have a God that requires the blood of a human sacrifice to pay him. Wow. It's still paganism. It's a lie. And sadly, much of Christianity teaches this because they have the wrong law concept. Sacrifice of Jesus was not designed to change God. He's perfect and he never changes. Was not designed to change God's law. It's perfect and never changes. Was not designed to pay some legal penalty in a courtroom. It was designed, according to Scripture, to destroy sin, destroy him who holds the power of death, that is the devil, and to destroy the devil's work, and to destroy death and bring life and immortality to light. That's what it's designed to destroy sin and the problem, and to bring a remedy that sets us free from sin and heals and restores us to bring us to eternal life. So what happens when we go out and witness the following? Witness the following. You meet somebody on an elevator, at work, wherever, on an airplane, not anymore because nobody flies.
Wow, mess.
But you say to them, you're a sinner condemned to death. You're a sinner condemned to death. What happens to that witness? Do you think people are going to resonate with that? You're under God's condemnation. If you don't accept Jesus' payment, he's going to kill you or torture you in hell. You think that condemned to death? How about you say this instead? Have you struggled in your life with fears, doubts, heartaches, uncertainties, loneliness? Have you struggled with that? Do you long for peace and love and joy? Do you long for that? Well, those are symptoms of a terminal condition that we didn't choose, with which we're born. But there's good news. God has provided a solution that will take away your fears and insecurities and bring you peace and joy and heart. How about this witness? God is required by his holiness and righteousness to punish all unrepented sin. Are you likely to get good traction with that? How about this? God is love, and love cannot be forced. He'll never force you. God will never force you to be with him, to love you, to accept him. But we have a condition. You have a condition that if unremedied will result in suffering and death. God only offers you free remedy, offers to cure you, offers to set you free, offers to heal you. But he respects and loves you so much, if you refuse it, he will let you have what you choose. And the condition will cause you miserable suffering and ultimately die because it's a terminal condition. He doesn't want that for you. Is that a different witness? How about the punishment for sin is execution by God to die eternally or eternal torment in hell? Versus, God will let you go if you insist on not letting him heal you, but he will cry as he does it. But he is the source of all life, and if you insist on separating from him, you have no life of your own. He doesn't want you to not exist, so he offers to heal you, but if you won't, he will let you go, and when you're separated from the source of life, you cease existence, you die. He doesn't want that for you. But you'll never be tortured for all eternity. He would never do that to you. A different witness. How about, God loves you too much to just leave you to be punished, so God sent Jesus, his son, his perfect, sinless son, and killed him in your place, and you can accept his payment, so God won't kill you.
And then you get to spend the rest of eternity with that God.
Yes. Or God loves you so much, he doesn't want you to die of the condition, so he sent his son to cure the condition and offer you a free remedy. But hey, after all those other witnesses, and you tell them they're sinful, and you tell them that justice requires God to punish sin, and if you don't accept him, he'll torture you in hell, and Jesus paid the penalty. If you don't accept it, God will put that punishment on you. But hey, come to church with me this weekend. Do you see the evil that's been foisted on the world by teaching the Bible through the lie that God's law functions like human law? And the Adventist church ultimately was called at this time in history to present a message to be in awe of God, fear God, glorify him, reveal his character, fear God, give glory to him. For the hour in human history has come for people to make a right judgment about God. Fear God and glory to him. For the hour of his judgment has come. Stop judging him and saying he's an imperial dictator. Actually see him for he is. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. Worship the Creator. Understand his laws are the laws upon which reality are built. This is the message that sets people free. Sunday's lesson